All right, another episode of the Mansformation podcast. Me and James discuss another topic this week. And this week we're going to go on training intensity, why it matters, how we can improve your training intensity. Because this is something we see very commonly, really. A lot of guys, they're going to the gym, but they're not really putting their all in when they're going to the gym. They're just kind of going through the motions and stuff like that. And I suppose, a lot of that comes down to being distracted and not really focused on what they're actually doing while they're there.
Yeah, 100%. So commonly just a box ticking exercise. A lot of guys, when they come into the program, why are you training, what are you doing? And they don't really have a narrative. It's just a case of, I should go. That's not a bad thing. Obviously, we'd prefer someone to do that, but it's knowing your intentions of when you want what you're training for and what you want to get out of them sessions. Like you say, going there just to tick that box, I've been to the gym. Is it challenging you enough to make that change of what you want to see?
Because you have to be able to elicit a response in your body to make a change. So your body has a reason to adapt. And if you're just going there going through the motions and not really pushing yourself out of that comfort zone, like you said, they're just going there, yes, I've been to the gym today, but if you're not getting out of that comfort zone, there's no reason for the body to change, because it's you have to force this, okay? And there's different I suppose there's different ways that we can do this, and we'll certainly go through all the different ways that you can increase intensity towards the end of the podcast. But I think a lot of the guys, like we said, they get distracted when they're there. And it's, things like phones and stuff like this.
Yeah, so quite a common one, which everyone's seen in the gym. You go in and someone's wrapped the weight and they've sat on the bench, and a partner or the boss has texted them, or the work emails come in. That 60 seconds to 90 second rest becomes 5 minutes. You are just not doing what you need to be doing in that moment to actually challenge your body enough. Your heart rate's dropped, so you're just not in the zone of where you need to be. And then if it's something that's not great, or you've received a message that's then still actually taking a bit of mental focus, you're going into that next set and you're actually not training to the right intensity anyway, because your mind's elsewhere and you're worrying about other stuff. So being distracted, and now, like if we just said, aren't we, just now, 3 hours a week, if you can put time into them 3 hours a week and making them as optimal as possible, it's not asking for much, is it? So making sure them 60 seconds, if that's what your sessions are taking, that you're going in there, you've got no distractions, whether that be phone. Training with friends is good if it's the right friend. It's like, are they pushing you to that place, or are you just going for a bit of a catch up of what did you do at the weekend? It's more laughing and joking. We commonly see, and I think we've seen this with a lot of people that train in person with you, Stu, the transformations of the same period of time can be somewhat heightened because they're training with you. They know that they're going in, that 60 seconds is really, really pushing them to their max, and they're going to build more muscle, they're going to burn more fat, because at the end of the day, it's challenging them more. I also remember when I come to train with you, when I started working with you, I did legs, and I thought I trained to a decent intensity for a fairly few years. And after I was like, I can't walk, I can't do this. And I was like, how much have I left on the table from when I've just trained on my own?
Yeah, well, I think that's for anybody though, isn't it? No matter what level you're at, there's always another level to go to, and it's very hard to push yourself into that, push yourself past that pain threshold, to really squeeze them, extra reps out sometimes. I had a client this morning, unfortunately threw up a little bit upstairs in the changing room afterwards. It was leg day, and he was just saying to me, he says, I would just never push myself to that point if I wasn't training with you. And because why would you? Because when you really dial into it, and if you really want to make it quite an intense session, it's not always pleasurable. It can be, it make you feel like shit. You feel sick. You don't feel great. But it's also what's necessary if you really want to make a change. I'm not saying you've got to be throwing up every session, right? But you've got to bring a level of intensity that pushes you out of that comfort zone and pushes you past where you're capable of being. And he's done that this morning, and yeah, he's going to feel sore the next couple of days. But, over time, if he keeps doing that, he's going to like what he sees when he looks in the mirror, which is the reason why he's at the gym in the first place. So, but again, I suppose as well, when the guys are training with me, they're not on the phone, and it's hard because, my gym's just gone 24-hour now. To get into the gym, you need your phone to get, for the app. We deliver our coaching program via an app. Everything's, kind of moves on with technology, doesn't it? But you've got to be disciplined within that time, that if you do have to have your phone with you, that you don't just stop and start scrolling through all the time. I mean, again, we're making some changes at the gym, and even our onboarding process, like a welcome email and stuff like this. We were just talking last night about including some gym rules And one of the rules has got to be no endless scrolling in between sets, because you're not actually doing yourself any good, but you're also pissing off a lot of other members as well. So that's why we decided to put that one in there. But yeah, phones can be a bit of a distraction. And like you say, if you are rushing and squeezing things in, I suppose it can go back to the first episode that we did on planning. Actually allowing yourself those 3 hours a week where you know that there's nothing else on, there's nothing else you need to be doing because you've got the whole week planned and you know that everything you need to do has got a place. That makes it easier to kind of switch off for an hour and allow yourself that time to train and to go all in. You can't bring a level of intensity when you are stopping to answer a work email or you are stopping to just phone the kids or whatever it might be. You've got to give that 1 hour your all, because as we know, when you do that and become stronger and fitter and healthier, the work gets a better version of you, family gets a better version of you. They can wait half an hour till you finish your gym session to get the work for you to get a response to them.
100%. You've gone there, haven't you? So it's like most people that are going to the gym are going to look better. So it's like training with a bit more effort is only going to make you look better. It's only going to yield better results. So kind of utilise your time that you're there. Something that I do with the guys on the programme when we just spoke about phone, it's like if I review someone's workout and they're like up at 75 plus minutes and I look and I'm like, you can work out from obviously what tempos we've put in. So like that should not take that long. Kind of inquire a little bit about that. Oh, well, yeah, it was because I was on my phone. I would always challenge them and say, like, I don't even want you to use the app. Get a logbook, get a piece of paper, put your phone on airplane mode after you've just scanned into the gym. Because it's like, we do always need it, but there's always an element of we kind of remove it. So it's like, put it onto airplane mode and then someone might go, well, I can't have my music. You can download everything on Spotify. You don't need Wi-Fi. Make yourself a playlist. Remove all the roadblocks. Remove the friction. And like you say, make it worthwhile. It's just, it makes more sense to do that. And like you say, you'll become happier from it because you're going to see better lasting results.
You can even get different apps that block distracting apps at that time, because you might need your phone on you for an emergency or whatever reason. But maybe you could say, do you know what, between 5 and 6 when I'm in the gym, I'm going to block Facebook, Instagram, my email, whatever, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever the apps are that have become distracting, and just lock them away in there. I've not actually looked. I have looked at a little bit of them because I think even when I'm doing work, it's very hard when you work a lot on your phone that you just kind of fall back into these habits, and so you understand why people are doing this in the gym. But yeah, these apps are supposed to be pretty good at.
Yeah, I know a few people that use them, and they use them more like around bedtime. So it's like you can set it to like 9 o'clock, cut off all social media, and I think some of them even like take the icon off the home screen. Yeah. Do you know? So it's like it's not even there, and it's just like like you say, it's a tool that's there to be used. In it, if you feel like you need it, just give it a go.
Yeah, and I think even if it's just a way to break the habit, using it for a short time. But yeah, so let's go through some like core teaching points around training intensity. Let's forget for the moment that phones are a distraction. All right, let's forget that people have not really allowed themselves enough time. Just the regular guys that are still allowing themselves enough time and they're kind of all in on training, but they're still not pushing themselves to that point. Like, how do we get a bit more out of that? Because, you know, a lot of people, and I touched on it before, is they want to stay in that comfort zone. So, you know, they'll aim for the 10 reps or whatever it is, and, you know, 8, 9 and 10 might be a little bit tough. That felt a bit hard when they rack it down, but they never really take it to failure. And that can be an issue. You know, like you say, it's not necessarily just about adding more weight all the time. And, you know, like I say, we'll go through in detail the ways that we believe you can increase intensity. But, you know, things like a bit more control, you know, a little bit more focus on what you're doing, creating a better mind-muscle connection, stuff like this, and really, really mentally dialing in on what you're actually doing and thinking about the muscle you're working and all this stuff. That really does help to create intensity in your training. And that's something I've always done. I've always tried to have a really strong mind-muscle connection. It actually allowed me to not need to lift as heavy, but I could make the work, I could make it feel like harder work. So, you know, that's another way that you could potentially do that.
I think you've touched on this before, and there's a lot of bodybuilders that do it. It's like being present in it, in that work, like, and then like just actually feeling what you're doing. So it's like you say, slow the tempo down. Just make I always use a squat with clients. Say a squat, like a lot of people try to load up on them. It's like we don't always need to make it heavier, just make it harder to move from A to B. Whether that be, like you say, reducing the tempo, having a pause at the bottom, having a pause at the top. We can do that. There's other ways in terms of training methodology that we could do, and this obviously works for a lot of our guys because they're struggling with time. You can add like stuff like supersets, drop sets, trisets. Even further on, you can go with cluster sets and stuff like that. It's just obviously going to give you an opportunity to break your muscle down further. Like even pause sets, if you've got a set of 15 reps to do and you fail at 12, so many people just go, I'll just put it as 12. Well, just give yourself 10 seconds and go back and try to get them last 3 out.
Yeah.
And I think one thing we commonly see with the guys that come on the program, when they've followed programs before, it's just like, I do what reps it says, but I don't know to what intent.
Well, I think you are capable of handling more than what you realise. I mean, we've just come back from Three Peaks, right? And with a bunch of the guys from the programme, every time I do it, 4 hours in, I feel like I'm done.
Yeah.
Yet somehow you still manage to walk around for the next 8 hours to actually complete it. But if I didn't have that sort of pressure, if you like, but that goal to do it, I would probably think I was done at about 4 hours. I'll say I'm tired now because that's where my comfort zone was ending. But you've actually got way more in the tank than what you realise. And to be fair, doing things like that, it does bring it home how much more you can actually push yourself. Because a lot of it is mental, isn't it? And we tell ourselves that we can't do it, or we tell ourselves that we should stop at 10 reps. There's definitely more in the tank for a lot of people.
Well, I've watching you do the 3 peaks numerous times. There's so much proof that it is just mental. Because like you've said yourself, after 4 hours, it's not physical. So it's like at that point, you doing and just doing and doing. But then that goes back to, doesn't it, of why you achieve what you've done, and your training intensity is always higher because you have got, as the saying I use, you've got that dog in you. It's like you know how to push yourself to them extremes. Whereas a lot of people just switch off at 80% and go, yeah, that's my ceiling, and it's not.
Yeah. And so let's talk about some ways that you can actually increase training intensity. And I suppose the first one would be adding more weight and the progressive overload.
If you use a weight at the start in week 1, if you've used 10 kg, for example, and you've hit that reps and you've hit failure, or within like 1 to 2 reps of, next week just trying to go up by a kg and trying to hit failure again is obviously how you're going to progressively overload. And obviously you're going to need to, it's better to log stuff like that, isn't it? Like I say, we do have the app on our program that people can log stuff on, but if it does become a distraction, good old fashioned pen and paper. Yeah. And just write down what you've done. Just as a cross reference from the week before. I personally prefer to do that because when I go into the gym the following week, I know my start point. So it's like, I know I need a warm-up set, but then I know what I need on the bar. So if not, you can just wait. Well, you'll know yourself. You can just waste 3 sets, can't you, doing absolutely nothing worthy.
Absolutely. And we've also, like you said, the other way that you could do it is to do a little bit more reps. So maybe the weight stays the same, because obviously, yeah, you could just add a kilo on a week, but you can't just add a kilo on a week forever. You have to change other variables. So, potentially just might be the same weight that feels that you're kind of at your limit, but then the goal for the week after is just to squeeze another rep out.
Yeah, so just increase. That's also a good way if you train on your own and you're not feeling safe. Just going up in weights is better than keep on stacking it out, and in case you're just going to bottom out on a weight that you can't lift up.
So if you're doing a weight and it says to do it for 10 reps, but you get to 11 reps and 12 reps and 13 reps, by the time you get up to maybe 14 or 15 reps, you know that this is not the variable to keep changing now, and maybe it's time to add a little bit more weight and come back down in reps. So you've got to, like you say, select the right tweak depending on where you're at with your programming. Other thing is you take less rest. We've kind of alluded to why people take too much rest. The phones are a distraction, having a chat's a distraction, things like that. One of the methods that we use with some of the guys is the German volume training. And obviously, if with that one, you've got to time your rest periods. You get a minute in between your sets. And that really does help to create a level of intensity, and also gets you used to just timing that minute's rest and realizing how long you're supposed to be resting in between sets, as opposed to, just wait until you feel fine. Because sometimes you could sit there and wait for 5 minutes until you kind of come round. And I know it's different if you're powerlifting and doing 1 rep maxes and all this sort of stuff, but just for your average man in the gym that wants to go look a little bit better, feel a bit better, get a bit fitter, get a bit stronger, a minute should be ample, really. Maybe it's 90 seconds if they're doing a bigger muscle group.
I would always say 60 seconds. And I think the GVT, like, it's good in it because it actually makes you realise how sometimes you're probably extending beyond that 60 seconds without even thinking about it. Keeps your heart rate up. It gets, especially as well when you're looking for fat loss, it's such a good tool to have because you actually come out of the gym and you're dripping. It's like I say to the guys on that, it's like, yeah, you won't be asking if you can do cardio after it, you won't need to.
No. And that's kind of the point of it. It will improve cardiovascular health and conditioning as well. So other bits and pieces you could do, you could look at changing the tempo. Again, are your reps too fast? Are you really controlling your reps? Could you switch the tempo up a little bit? Sometimes just bringing it down a little bit slower, control the negative, having that little pause at the bottom, things like that make a huge difference. And again, I'll use an example. I had a lady in last week who told me she could do 6 plates a side on the leg press, and she can. But I said, let's just start with 1, and let's do it this way. Take 4 seconds to come down, pause for a second at the bottom. By the time she got to 10 reps, the legs were shaking because she'd never really put that much tension through the muscle. It was just kind of bouncing it at the bottom and, a lot of momentum. And, like I say, it's a bit humbling, but you also realise that just chasing weight doesn't actually mean that you're increasing intensity because she was way more, done by doing 1 plate aside than she was. She gets off after doing 6 plates aside and she's absolutely fine. It's like, how much are you actually working there?
Yeah, and it's obviously just trying to chase a PB for chasing a PB's sake, innit? I think that's a good way to look at it. And like you say, just increasing that time under tension. And look, other than if you're working for power, which majority of people are, you just don't need to go that fast through it, do you? And like you say, controlling the quality of the rep. Creating good tempo will obviously do clean up every rep as well. So make sure your form is impeccable, making sure that you're hitting the points that you should hit, and obviously you're not just chucking a weights around for chucking its sake. What muscle are you trying to train within that exercise, and making sure that you really lock down on that, as opposed to just shaking about and using secondaries.
And that's, I suppose you could say, obviously cleaning the reps up is another form of increasing intensity, because if you are, let's say you're getting your 10 reps, but them last couple of reps were a little bit sloppy, which is fine because you've got to kind of go through that phase to hit that number. You don't necessarily need to add more reps or add more weight. You just need to get those 10 reps better quality. Make sure you're doing them right. Again, take the momentum out of it. Don't swing around your body when you're doing it or whatever the exercise is. Just cleaning the reps up makes a big difference.
Yeah, massive. And that's, like you say, that's back to the first point of progressive overload. That doesn't always need to be through weight, like it says, does it? Like you've just said, having 10 quality reps as opposed to failing at form failure at 7, getting to 10 that's a progression within itself.
Yeah. So the nuts and bolts of it, going into the gym with the intention to go and work hard, bring in the intensity. And if you can go in there with good intention, knowing what you're doing, and you actually bring the level of intensity that forces you to push out of that comfort zone, this is what's going to help you to adapt to change.
Most people are stuck in the same place because they're always doing what they've always done. And they're just going in there, like we said at the start, ticking the box just for being there. Go in, change it, train to a higher intensity. Your body will adapt more and you will get a better end product because of that.
Yeah, cool. So take home message, guys. Get yourself out of your comfort zone if you want to make a change, because nothing good is going to happen in there. You've got to get out of it. Call it a day for that one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
perfect. Cheers.